The Wealthy and the Rich. Chapter 1 to 5. Lunchtime was almost over, so the busy canteen was slowly turning quiet. As opposed to all other students who were chatting happily with their friends, a boy with a plain haircut and washed-out clothes was sitting alone in the corner. He caressed his rumbling stomach and was staring at the leftovers on the table. He waited until almost all of the students were gone before he ran to the dining tables and grabbed some leftover bread from the tray. Before anyone knew it, he already shoved it into his mouth. The students, who were still in the canteen, were flabbergasted when they saw that. They probably thought that it was ridiculous how a starving student could still exist in the civilized time they lived in. F***king***la. It's the 21st century. Why is he still forcing me to play this game? Grumbled the boy sadly as he gobbled the leftovers down. Casper Simpson. Just then, a surprised voice with a hint of distaste came at him. Casper, who was still munching on the leftover bread, turned around to see the woman with heavy makeup on. What are you doing? Eating. The lady was slightly stunned. A discriminating and disdainful smile crept up on her lips almost immediately after. Ha! Good thing Kitty is dumping you soon. It'd be so embarrassing otherwise because strangers would assume that everyone in our dorm is a poor sap. Boom! A loud explosion went off in Casper's mind as it turned blank. He couldn't believe it. His girlfriend, who once promised to stay by his side even if they had to starve, would actually leave him. He didn't really have the time to think about it before he turned around and dashed towards the school's main entrance. A brand new BMW pulled up at the entrance, and a couple exited it. The boy who came out of it was not blessed with aesthetic beauty. In fact, he was rather short and looked a little like an impy. The girl wasn't an exotic beauty either, but she looked youthful and sweet. Casper panted when he reached the entrance. Seeing the couple exiting the car together instantly petrified him. The girl who was hugging the rich man's arm was Kitty Campbell. She was Casper's girlfriend of 6 months. The rich man, on the other hand, was Charlie Whitaker. Casper hated the guy because the latter tapped into his family's wealth to become a class prefect. Charlie was also a bully who had a lot of subordinates following him around. Kitty. That was the name Casper had called out countless times. But at that moment, those words sounded bitter when they slipped out of Casper's lips. Kitty was wearing a beautiful smile on her lips at the time, but hearing Casper's voice got her to stiffen. Despite that, she showed no hint of remorse when she turned to him. Charlie, whose family's wealth spoiled him, was glaring discriminatingly at Casper at that moment. I wanted to talk to you in private about this, but you caught me. So I guess that's that. Please stop dropping by and visiting me. Casper, I'm with Charlie now, and I don't want to upset him. Casper stumbled backward. He couldn't believe that his girlfriend, the one who used to declare her love for him, had turned into someone that materialistic and cruel. Did you not hear what Kitty said? You penniless fool. Leave. Charlie shouted in distaste because he felt like Casper's misfortune would spread like a malignant tumor and infect his surroundings. Casper came around and shifted his gaze up. He saw how bright Kitty's smile was when she rested in Charlie's arms. A pleased grin of acceptance showed up on Casper's lips. I guess the old man was right. I pray that you won't regret the decision you made today. Kitty, said Casper. Kitty and Charlie found Casper's words to be the funniest joke in the world. Regret? No, I won't regret my decision. If anything, I should dumped you sooner. Kitty's cruel words snipped the last strand of hope Casper had in his heart. He grinned and turned around to leave. The spectators on site never pitied Casper. As a student who was notoriously poor, it seemed only reasonable that his girlfriend would dump him. After all, who would want to be with a guy who had leftovers for meals? Casper dragged his exhausted figure back to his dorm and slumped down on his bed. Complex emotions were swirling inside his heart as he stared at the ceiling. It's gonna be fine. Casper, We'll just work harder and make that woman regret ever leaving you," said a muscular man. Earlier, the muscular man was playing video games on his computer. But he put his joystick away and went to tap on Casper's shoulder when he saw the latter in that terrible shape. The muscular man was none other than Casper's friend and roommate, Felix Junger. "That Charlie Whittaker truly is an ****. You weren't here earlier. But that *** dropped by and reminded me that you have some outstanding school fees. He demanded that you pay up tomorrow. I'm guessing he will make a big deal out of it if you don't. Let's wait for the others to get back. We'll get together and help you figure out a way to make ends meet." Warmth filled Casper's heart. He tilted his head up and looked at Felix before shaking his head with a smile. "Felix, there is no need for you and the others to worry about my school fees. Please do head over to the bank with me tomorrow, though." Felix was stunned when he heard Casper talking about going to the bank. The former later misread the situation and put on a complex expression. "Casper, you'll still need that ***, Charlie, to help you. He must hand you the relevant documents before you can apply for a bank loan." "I'm not asking for a loan. I'll be making a withdrawal." Casper didn't bother to explain everything in detail. He turned around and went to sleep after giving Felix a simple answer. It had been a year. Everyone in school thought that Casper was poor because he was always picking up changes left on the floor and had done something as extreme as eating others' leftovers. What everyone was unaware of was that Casper was actually the direct heir of the renowned Simpson family, which had been the richest family in the country for over 1,000 years. Most knew that they were rich, but the public was clueless about a crucial fact. As the only conglomerate corporation in the region, the Simpson family actually had a sizable influence over half of Earth's economy. Even the Rothschilds were comparatively mild. That was the last day of the chameleon test, where Casper had to live as a poor student. When the sun rose on the following morning, he would revert to his original identity, and would no longer be the guy who needed to pick up spare change to make ends meet. Casper stretched on the following morning. He woke Felix up and dragged the latter to the Summers Bank. Summers Bank was a luxurious bank with exquisite decorations and regal interiors. Even looking at the place got Felix to swallow hard. He couldn't get himself to walk into the bank no matter how hard he tried. So he turned stiffly to Casper. "Casper, do you know where you brought us? It's just a bank, isn't it?" Felix finally came around. He put his hand on Casper's forehead to check his temperature. He tried to pull Casper away when he realized that the latter was sick. "Stop messing around. Casper, this bank is for the rich. And they won't even let you apply for a debit card unless you have a net worth of over 10 million. Casper parted his lips and was about to explain his situation when a taunting laugh drifted over to them. "Yo, what a small world. Are you here to hang out so you can skimp on the air conditioning fees at home?" The sound of a sports car screeching to a stop soon made it to their ears. A brand new BMW was practically brushing against Casper before it was parked. Casper's expression turned dark and evil when faced with the blatant insult. Felix was even worse off. He clenched his fists and seemed ready to fight. Soon, Charlie exited the car with his arm around Kitty's waist. As opposed to her usual sweet and natural style, Kitty was wearing heavy makeup, and that made Casper feel estranged. "Oi, Charlie, don't go overboard. Ha, look, it's the two beggars. Can't you see what a luxurious place this is?" mocked Charlie as he glared at the two of them. After saying his piece, Charlie waved at the security guards posted at the entrance and demanded, "Do your job and chase these hooligans away already." Compared to the exotic clothing and the brand new BMW that Charlie had with him, both Felix and Casper looked ridiculously poor. The two security guards stationed there turned to each other before they approached Casper and Felix. They politely gestured for Casper and Felix to leave. "Sorry, but we're here to make a withdrawal," informed Casper as he grinned politely. All it took was one sentence from Casper to provoke an invisible whirlwind and disrupt the peace there. For starters, Charlie was laughing so hard that he couldn't even stand up straight. And Felix became so nervous that he was nudging Casper's arm endlessly. It was obvious that Felix wanted to drag Casper away before the latter further embarrassed himself. You know, I used to think that despite your shortcomings, you were a pretty honest guy. I never realized that in addition to being penniless, you are also a shameless fraud. Dissed Kitty mercilessly as she stared discriminatingly at Casper. The former showed no sentiment toward the latter. All right now, Kitty, let's not waste our breaths with that penniless idiots. We'll just sit back and enjoy the show as he embarrasses the P out of himself. Rather than having the security guards chase the guy away, it will be so much more entertaining to watch him set himself on fire. Ha! I wonder how loud his cries would be after he utterly embarrassed himself. Felix's eyes burned with immense fury. But then he looked up and saw the bank's entrance. Oh shoot! Is it just me? Or does this place just screams no peasant salad? Thought Felix. He felt like he had no choice but to swallow his fury down. Let's go, Casper. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Anyway. And what? Let those enjoy longer until I have my revenge. I think not. An amused grin showed up at Casper's lips. You can wait outside if you want, suggested Casper. Felix's eyes shone with determination and strength when he saw his friend being that adamant about self-destructing. No way. You are my pal. And I have your back. Besides, we'd, at most, be embarrassed. It's not like we're gonna lose a limb or anything. I'll go with you. Felix had always been straightforward and honorable. Casper tapped appreciatively on Felix's shoulder upon seeing how loyal and strong the latter was. Felix, I promise you this. From now on, you will have a share of everything I earn. I will never abandon you. At that moment, Felix had no idea what Casper's words truly meant. So the former simply grinned. The bank's exterior discouraged those with low income from entering. But that was nothing compared to how much the interior design intimidated the poor. Felix had already prepared himself. But actually entering the place still made him feel terrible. It was as if he was being lowered into his grave. The bank prided itself as a top-notch bank. So naturally, the services provided were on point. Casper and Felix had just entered the place when a rather pleasant-looking receptionist in a formal outfit approached them. Despite her training, the receptionist's smile still stiffened when she saw that the men were wearing ridiculously cheap clothing. "How may I help you?" asked the receptionist. She was only being polite because that was her job. Felix felt like his coffin was even deeper in the ground when he heard the receptionist's question. In fact, he might actually feel better if he was in an actual coffin. At least no one could see him if that was really the case. "I'm here to make a withdrawal," replied Casper calmly. His voice carried a hint of inexplicable confidence when he spoke. The receptionist was slightly stunned. Curiosity flashed past her eyes before she asked, "Oh, in that case, please provide us with your debit or credit card." Felix didn't actually think that Casper had a card to hand over, but the former still stared with hope shining in his eyes. "Sorry, but I don't have a card," answered Casper. At that moment, even the receptionist, who had professional training, couldn't help glaring at Casper a little. "Ha! A card. The poor sap probably doesn't even know what that is," mocked Charlie. He had just made a withdrawal and had his arm around Kitty's shoulder when he stopped by. He was eager to watch Casper self-destruct. "Oh, before we can provide you with a credit card through which you get an overdraft, our bank will need proofs of assets owned. The minimum value of the asset mentioned must be 10 million or higher. And a new customer must deposit 1 million before we can begin processing," explained the receptionist. She was tempted to chase Casper away. But she forced herself to explain everything patiently. To her surprise, Casper waved his hand to cut her words short. I rented a safety deposit box here, and I am here to withdraw the content of that box, informed Casper. Hearing that got the receptionist's eyes to bulge in astonishment. The bank offered daily financial services, such as making a deposit or requesting a loan. But it also provided safety deposit boxes for its customers to store their valuables. However, it should be noted that a customer had to be ridiculously rich and powerful to rent a safety deposit box. At that moment, Casper's clothing and characteristics did not match his inherent claim of being ridiculously rich and powerful. Sir, this is the rental receipt for the safety deposit box. Can you take me over now? Casper sounded like he was too impatient to explain anything. He got a wrinkly receipt out of his wallet and handed it over. At that moment, everyone inside the bank turned mute. It was pin-drop silence. Charlie's eyes bulged as he stared from some distance away. Kitty recalled how Casper had shown her that receipt once. He even swore that he would treat her like a princess once the time was right. Unfortunately, Kitty never believed a word he said. She suddenly had a bad feeling about it. Where did you get that fake receipt? Do you honestly think that you can fool anyone? Challenged Charlie. He'd sooner believe that the apocalypse was right around the corner than to accept that Casper's receipt was legit. I understand. Sir, I'll go verify your receipt right away, said the receptionist. Like Charlie, the receptionist suspected that Casper's receipt was a fake. But the rules dictated that she must smile professionally at everyone. Please, just hurry it up, requested Casper with a nonchalant smile as he handed the receipt over. The receptionist left for the manager's office after that. Charlie couldn't control himself anymore. He mocked Casper mercilessly. Oi, peasant! Do you know what the punishment for forging fake bank receipts is? Kitty gritted her teeth. She chimed in to further insult Casper because she wanted to be on even better terms with Charlie. Casper ignored the noisy couple. He looked like he was too busy to even waste his breath on them. Just then, the receptionist, who had just taken the receipt into the manager's office, returned. She was running at full speed and was sweating a little as she followed a balding, middle-aged man over. The man was equally nervous as he approached. Hello. I am the branch manager of this bank. We are so sorry about how you were treated earlier. Please forgive us for it. The balding manager was sweating and was bowing respectfully to Casper as he spoke. The receptionist who tended to Casper earlier had turned utterly pale by then. She looked like she had just narrowly escaped death. She could still remember how a shiver ran down her spine after she scanned the receipt and learned that the account holder was a VIP. Charlie was standing some distance away. His smile instantly froze over. He simply couldn't believe that the receipt was legit. And Kitty was equally flabbergasted. Can I retrieve my item now? Of course. This way. Please. Charlie stared as the bank manager treated Casper like a king. At that moment, the former felt like his take on the world was distorting and crumbling. This is not an ordinary bank. And even I cannot afford to offend the manager of Summers Bank. Come on, Felix. Don't just stand there, reminded Casper. He grinned and reached out to tap on Felix's shoulder. Only then did the latter finally come back around. Felix pinched his own lap. And the sting got him to laugh aloud before he followed Casper. When Casper walked past Charlie and Kitty, he paused for a second. But he never bothered to even look at Kitty. At that moment, her beautiful eyes were overflowing with regret. A relationship that had ended in betrayal was just like a coin that had rolled into the sewers. Technically, it still had value, but no one would want something like that back. No, that is not possible. How could that peasant possibly do that? It took some time before Charlie could move a muscle. He immediately spiraled out of control and kept shouting that it was not possible. On the other side of the bank, The manager politely led Casper to the innermost part of the vault and pointed at a safety deposit box. Please input your password and scan your fingerprints and iris to open the safety deposit box. Even after everything, Felix still couldn't believe that they actually made it inside. He suspected that it was all a show until Casper opened the safety deposit box. Gold bullions, wads of cash, branded watches. The box was basically a small treasure chest. Felix couldn't help gasping at the sight of it. *CK Yeah, I finally made it. Casper used to think that money was unimportant. But he was forced to fend for himself over the past year to make ends meet. Seeing all that money in front of him got Casper to feel like he was finally on the other end of the tunnel and was finally free. He was about to take a small portion of the money out of the box when his phone suddenly vibrated in his pocket. Seeing the email that was sent automatically got Casper to jump and cuss aloud. Oh, *CK. Is there no end to this shit? The title of the email was Rules to Inherit the Simpson Family Wealth. The email only contained 3 important pieces of information. First, after the heir passes the 1-year chameleon test, he will receive a sizable fund to start his own company. Second, the heir must increase the fund's value by tenfold within a year. Failure to do so will result in the loss of claim to the family's wealth. Third, the heir may opt to decline that challenge. The fund will then be regarded as a severance fee, and the heir shall be cut off henceforth. What's wrong, Casper? Felix had just calmed himself down when he noticed that Casper looked off. The former couldn't contain his curiosity, so he asked about it in a kind and non-intrusive way. Casper forced a smile onto his face before turning to the bank's manager and requested, "Please withdraw 1 million in cash. Then give me an estimate of the content's total value." The bank was quick to give Casper an estimate. Turned out, the content of the safety deposit box was worth a total of 1 billion. According to the rules, Casper would need to turn all that into a business with a net worth of 10 billion within a year. The tests and rules were obviously designed to push a person to his limit. Casper cussed internally, but he had no choice. He must accept the challenge with a heavy heart. "Here is the 1 million you requested." Felix's entire body trembled when he saw the small mountain of cash in front of him. He grabbed Casper's arms tightly as if he was worried about his rich friend ditching him. "Please help me put that in my backpack," requested Casper. It took the duo 10 minutes to shove all the cash into the old backpack. They left the bank immediately after. Casper was at ease the entire way back, but Felix was on edge as his expression stiffened. He stood right beside Casper and was acting like a bodyguard the whole time. "What is up with you, dude? There are a lot of thieves in the area." Casper grinned exasperatedly when he saw Felix being that vigilant and serious. The appreciation in Casper's heart, however, was making him feel warm and fuzzy. "Come, let's go settle the school fees. After that, we'll get the others to join us and celebrate." Casper reached out to tap on Felix's shoulder. The former later ran his fingers through his hair and walked towards the school with his head held high. Casper and Felix saw a guy with a dark-skinned tone inside their room as soon as they opened the door. "Felix, Casper, you guys are finally back. The Jack *SS just called and demanded that you pay the tuition fees. He even threatened to kick you out of the school if you don't," said the dark guy. The guy who delivered the message was Remy Harfield. He grew up in a village, so he was physically strong and was a decent guy with a strong sense of justice. Whenever the boys in the dorm got into a fight, he would be the one to step up and prevent anyone from getting hurt. The Jack *SS is such a money-minded tool. I bet that rich Charlie is the one who pushed him to demand payment, growled Felix angrily as he complained. The Jack *SS that the boys were talking about was actually their teacher, Jack Tripp. He might be a teacher, but he was notoriously money-minded. He would go out of his way to butter up students who were from rich families and was the reason why Charlie ended up being the class prefect. I have 1,000 in my wallet now. Casper. It's not much. But you should take it to deal with your emergency for now. We will help you find some ways to help you settle the rest of your debt, said Remy. Tears of appreciation swirled around Casper's eyes after he heard what Remy said. Casper is no longer short of cash. Remy. He's now a rich guy with a net worth of over $1 billion. Felix couldn't contain his excitement and share the good news before Casper even got to part his lips. The former spoke enthusiastically, but his voice had no hint of jealousy. He was genuinely happy for Casper. All right now. I have to go talk to Jack *SS. Let's drink and celebrate tonight. Casper had repeatedly delayed payment. So Jack had been bullying Casper over the past year. Casper's expression turned evil as he recalled everything Jack had done. Half an hour later, Casper showed up in the teacher's office with his old and dusty backpack. He stood right in front of Jack's desk when he said, "Mr. Tripp, I heard that you are looking for me." Jack's plump figure was sitting on his chair when he tilted his gaze up and tossed a discriminating look over to Casper. "Casper, you have delayed payment for quite some time. And don't you think that it's time you settle your school fees? I need to report to the school. So my hands are tied. You know, the school isn't exactly a charity organization, either." Jack used civil words, but his aggressive tone and threat were undeniable. Jack wasn't the only one in the office at that moment, though. Another lecturer was sitting at her desk as well. The lecturer looked like she was in her mid-20s and had a head of curly hair that she let down. Her beautiful face had stunning skin, and her amazing facial features made it so that she was as attractive as the celebrities in the country. Her nerdy glasses were especially cute. They highlighted her nerdy but sweet aura. Jack's cruel tone prompted her to tilt her head and look over. Her gaze shone with a hint of pity when she saw the cheap clothes on Casper. Jack, on the other hand, paid no attention to any of that. He assumed that Casper's silence was an admission of defeat. Evil flashed past Jack's eyes. He was about to insult and humiliate Casper when the lecturer spoke up. "Mr. Tripp, isn't it a little too much to hurt a student's pride just because he can't pay his tuition fees on time?" Her soft, crisp voice sounded melodious, and Casper found it appealing. He thought that his pals, whom he shared a room with, were the only ones in the school who would speak up for him. He never expected someone else to help him. Casper turned his head to the lecturer. His eyes couldn't help glowing when he saw who it was. Of the thousands of lecturers, tutors, and professors in that business university, Giselle Clotter was the most famous one. "Miss Clotter, this matter involves a student in my class. Please let me handle it my way," said Jack. He had to be political when he spoke to Giselle because the latter was too popular in the school. "Thank you for speaking on my behalf, Miss Clotter. Maybe we really do need to fall and be poor to learn who is truly on our side." Giselle nodded slightly to Casper before shifting her gaze to Jack, who refused to back down and let Casper go. She turned her sight back to Casper. The washed-out clothes made Casper seem so poor that it got Giselle to stand up and walk to his side. Giselle was pretty tall, so she was only a little shorter than Casper when she stood next to him. Casper would be lying if he claimed that he had never had any fantasies about that crazy hot lecturer before. He couldn't help swallowing his own saliva when he smelled the mesmerizing perfume she was wearing. "Mr. Tripp, how much does he owe the school?" asked Giselle calmly. Her nonchalant tone stunned both Jack and Casper. Giselle was involving herself in the matter, so Jack's expression took a sharp turn. He looked infuriated when he glared evilly at Casper before answering Giselle's question through gritted teeth. "Including his accommodation fees, it totals to 15,000. Oh, I have enough in my wallet now." Casper stared in astonishment as Giselle fished out a wad of cash from her wallet and placed it on Jack's desk. In one kind gesture, Giselle toppled Jack's scheme to chase Casper out of the school once and for all. That got Jack so angry that he was gritting his teeth endlessly. He would lashed out. But he remembered how popular Giselle was in the school and how many admirers she had. Hence, he redirected all of his anger and hate to Casper. Miss Clutter, just study hard. Don't let your parents down, advised Giselle before she turned around and left the office. Casper's plan to humiliate Jack with the money was completely disrupted. But the former genuinely appreciated Giselle's help. Casper snapped out of his shock soon after and ran off to chase after Giselle. He was near the stairs when he suddenly heard Giselle talking in a discreet corner. Casper instinctively stopped. What he overheard next got him to clench his fists instantly. Miss Clutter, isn't it time you settle your dad's debt? We are waiting for you in the office. If we don't get our money today, well, let's just say you shouldn't blame us for exposing the truth to the school. Turmoil dawned Giselle's beautiful face as the harsh reality tortured her. Casper didn't move from his hiding spot until Giselle had already left. He felt troubled when he saw her walking in that specific direction. She's heading back to the office. Shoot. Those *les are waiting for her there. I've got to go help her. Casper realized that Giselle was going to ignore her own safety and face her problem head-on. A bad feeling crept up on him and got him to run towards her office with his backpack on. Giselle was alone when she stood right outside the office. Even though she was on the other side of the door, she could hear a few men laughing rudely and loudly. Hopelessness bubbled up onto her beautiful face. Giselle was born into an upper-middle-class family. They weren't rich, but they had no problem making ends meet. Until her dad got addicted to gambling. Their beautiful family fell into a heap of trouble because her dad didn't just blow away all their savings. He also borrowed from the loan sharks and was deep in debt. Giselle had to give up her opportunity to go study abroad just to help him settle that debt. She ended up being a lecturer immediately after she got her master's. Unfortunately, she had just started working, and the salary of a fresh graduate simply wasn't enough to settle the heavy debt. Her long eyelashes fluttered as she took a deep breath with her eyes closed. When she opened her eyes again, her stunning gaze glowed with immense hopelessness. The three hooligans turned their attention to the door as soon as Giselle opened it and entered the office. With lust burning in their eyes, the hooligans checked Giselle's sexy curves out. Miss Clutter, this is the loan agreement. It's time you pay up, said the head of the hooligans before he licked his lips and placed the contract on her desk. The loan agreement showed that, with interest, the debt had accumulated to over 800,000. Giselle's figure trembled as exhaustion and loneliness crashed down on her. Can I please have a few more days? I'll find some ways to get the money together, requested Giselle. She was extremely reluctant to make that request, but she had no choice. The three men grinned like they were hoping that Giselle would request an extension. We can't do that, Miss Clutter. Our boss told us to make you another offer, though. He won't ask for the money back if you get together with him. Giselle clenched her fists when she heard the blatant humiliation from the man. If she was willing to sell her body, they would make a lot more than just a measly 800,000. Countless men would offer even more just to sleep with her. We don't have much time left, Miss Clutter. If you don't make a decision now, we will have no choice but to expose your secret to the school. The three men were certain that Giselle didn't want anyone to know about the debt her family owed. That was why they were taking advantage of the situation and forcing her into a corner. A series of hurried footsteps echoed from the corridor just as Giselle was about to close her eyes hopelessly. Casper heard the commotion in the office even when he was some distance away. He couldn't be bothered about being courteous at that moment, so he barged into the office without permission. Casper's appearance got the aura in the office to freeze over. The three hooligans turned their attention to him and glared menacingly. Giselle shifted her gaze over as well. Surprise flashed past her beautiful eyes when she saw Casper there. F***ck off if you don't want to get hurt, punk. The head of the hooligans threatened to intimidate Casper. It seemed that the hooligans did not want things to get out of hand. Leave now, urged Giselle. She couldn't help feeling nervous and wanted Casper to leave as quickly as possible. Don't worry, Miss Clutter. I am here to help you, said Casper. He ignored Giselle's words completely and grinned as he stood in front of Giselle and shielded her. Are you trying to get yourself killed, punk? Let's not waste time bullshit*ing. Shall we? Do you want your money or not? Challenged Casper. He sounded annoyed when he dissed the other men mercilessly. Silence fell into the office once more. All three hooligans saw how Casper was dressed like a pauper, and they couldn't help laughing boisterously at that. Giselle's heart stirred when she first saw Casper standing up for her like that. However, she didn't think that a guy who couldn't even pay for his own school fees could help her. I used to think that university students are powerful. Turns out, that is nothing but an act. Quit yapping. Just tell me how much Miss Clutter owes you. With interest. It totals to 800,000. It seemed that the men wanted to see how Casper, who was wearing those terrible clothes, could play the hero and help the damsel in distress. Giselle's eyes shone with astonishment as Casper put his backpack down and opened it. He got 20 stacks of cash out of it before tossing the backpack over. When the backpack landed in front of the men, stacks of cash fell out and decorated the desk with money. There was so much money that the sight of it could drop anybody's jaw. It took some time before the three hooligans came around. They hurried over to pick the cash up. You win this time, punk. Hey, hand the loan agreement over, demanded Casper. He was not an idiot and knew to stop the head of the hooligan from pocketing the money. Giselle was so surprised by the turn of events that she remained in a daze until Casper presented the contract to her. That being said, coming around got her to feel perplexed. She was especially annoyed when she thought about how she butted into the matter and paid for Casper's tuition fees. It got to the point where Giselle felt like she was conned. Miss Clutter, you should keep the contract safe, reminded Casper. His voice got Giselle to reach out and accepted the contract. She had her head down in embarrassment when she thanked him in a voice as soft as a buzzing fly. You helped me out earlier, didn't you? Said Casper. Now, we're even. Casper's heart thumped a little out of sync when he saw how beautiful Giselle was. But he was genuine when he helped her out. No, that's not right. I will repay you as quickly as possible. Truth was, Giselle wouldn't need to worry about the debt if it wasn't for the tight deadline and the strict rules. Seeing how serious Giselle was, Casper knew that he wouldn't be able to convince her to forget about paying him back. Hence, he nodded calmly. Only Giselle and Casper were left in the spacious office, and the aura in the room turned awkward before anyone knew it. Fortunately, Casper's phone rang at that crucial moment. What's up, Felix? Remy and the boys have decided. We're gonna bully you into treating us to a meal at Tycoon. Felix and the other boys cheered and laughed after saying that. Tycoon was the most luxurious restaurant near the business university. Even a random meal there would cost thousands. Felix and the others said that they were going to bully him. But Casper knew the truth. If he somehow lost the money and couldn't pay for the meal, all three of them would stay back and clean the dishes with him. Not a problem. You guys go ahead and make a reservation. I will be there in a second. Casper planned on bidding goodbye to Giselle after he hung up. But to his surprise, she spoke up before he did. I'm heading over too. Let me give you a lift. Giselle was so popular that countless men in the business university would scheme and pay just to have her give them a lift. Nothing ever worked. Hence, Casper wasn't stupid enough to refuse to accept an offer that could. One could travel from the business university to Tycoonwood in 10 minutes by car, and Giselle paid attention to the road the entire time. Casper, however, was peeking at her beautiful face repeatedly. When their eyes accidentally meet, the aura in the car would turn awkward instantly. They had just reached Tycoon and hadn't even gotten out of the car before Casper caught Felix and the others being barred from entering the restaurant. A racket could also be heard. Casper's gaze turned evil when he looked into the crowd and saw Charlie's sneer. "Charlie Whittaker, you have crossed the line this time," growled Felix as he clenched his fist. He was so angry that his face was turning red. "What are you complaining about? Stop being a fool. There's no way you can court a girl if you are penniless." Turned out, Felix and the guys got together and discussed the matter. They got Felix, who had the best rapport with the ladies in the other dorm, to invite the girls over for a meal. The boys wanted to use that opportunity to help Casper move on from Kitty. The girls accepted the invitations when they heard that they were going to Tycoon. Conflict arose when they reached the entrance of Tycoon. They bumped into Charlie there. It happened to be Kitty's birthday, so Charlie invited his friends over to celebrate with Kitty. He also claimed that he would block book Tycoon. It was obvious that he said those words to make Casper look bad. The girls were really only there for the free meal. So hearing how Charlie had block booked the place got them to change their stance. The four ladies, whom Felix wasted a lot of effort on to invite them over, saw how Charlie was with a few friends who were also famously rich. Their eyes glowed as they fantasized about getting a rich boyfriend as Kitty had. Casper was still in Giselle's car, but he heard their arguments and guessed what had happened. That got a mischievous grin to dawn his lips. Casper walked to Felix and the others as soon as he got out of the car. He wasn't there earlier, but showing up mid-argument still turned Casper into the center of everyone's attention. Aside from Felix and the boys, everyone else was waiting for Charlie to humiliate Casper. Felix turned around. He looked a little apologetic when he saw Casper there. "Casper, guys, how could you leave me out in a party so fun?" said Casper. He forged ahead and tapped on Felix's shoulder. The tension was already high, and Casper's appearance turned it hostile. Charlie was embarrassed at Summer's Bank earlier that day, but he still refused to believe that a pauper like Casper could beat him twice. Charlie didn't think it was possible, and neither did the others. As far as the rest of them were concerned, Charlie was the one with the money and the power. Casper, on the other hand, was just a poor sap whose girlfriend ran off with another guy. "Casper, let's go somewhere else. We don't need to deal with idiots like them." The boys had already heard the story of how Casper embarrassed Charlie in the bank, but Charlie had too many people with him. That prompted the others to dissuade Casper from getting into a fight. Casper grinned at Felix and the others to signal them to calm down before turning his attention to Charlie. "I guess that means you want to foot the bill tonight." "I do and I am. It's not like a penniless sap like you can." "Sorry, but it looks like you can't afford to foot the bill tonight." Casper's words got everyone to laugh aloud instantly. Money can't buy happiness. But there were a lot of things that money can buy in that world. Ha! Lies just roll right out of your flapping tongue, don't they? I have more than enough money to block book the place. And you can't stop me. It's not like you own Tycoon. Charlie's grin was so big that it was a little distorted. His wallet remained thick when he showed them. He obviously only acted that way to get revenge for what had happened at the bank. Casper narrowed his eyes a little. No one could tell that something was off with the calm grin he had on. Hence, the onlookers' laughter became so loud that they drowned out the traffic. "Sorry, but I will be the owner of this place starting tonight." Casper spoke as if he felt like their laughter wasn't loud enough and that it wasn't embarrassing enough for him. His nonchalant words got everyone to laugh even louder. Charlie's friends had laughed so much that they were tearing up at that moment. "Ha ha! I'd like to see just how you will come to own Tycoon tonight." Even Felix thought that Casper's words were a little over the top at that moment. It's like Casper is pulling the lever to send the guillotine down his own neck. "Casper, it'll be fine." Casper rubbed his nose a little after replying confidently. He got his second-hand phone, which he hadn't had the chance to upgrade. out of his pocket and made a call. According to the rules imposed on the heir, Casper was to use the fund to start a business and increase the fund's value by tenfolds. The spectators might see Casper as a fraud who is trying to look cool. But the truth was that Tycoon would definitely be a brilliant investment. It had a good reputation and a stable influx of customers. Hence, it was possible that with a little adjustment to its current expansion plan, it could grow to be the best restaurant in the city. There was another reason why Casper targeted Tycoon, though. It could even be said that he was using Tycoon as a stepping stone to make a sizable fortune. The Simpson family had been the richest family in the country for over 1,000 years. But wealth was not the only thing they accumulated. They also had a strong network, and their connections encompassed every company and industry. Casper couldn't fully tap into the Simpson family's network yet, but he had already resumed his identity as the heir of the Simpson family. Therefore, all he needed to do to acquire Tycoon was to make a phone call. It didn't take long before Casper bought 60% of Tycoon's shares for $20 million. Unfortunately, Charlie and his friends only got to see Casper fiddling with an old, second-hand phone. "Oh, did you manage to buy Tycoon?" asked Charlie. His words might seem polite and kind, but his tone suggested that he was mocking Casper. "I did," replied Casper. He was grinning calmly, but that got the spectators to laugh boisterously. "Anyway, seriously, Casper, I know that you can't move on from me, but you can forget about using absurd methods like these to get my attention. Geez, dumping you really is the best decision I have ever made," dissed Kitty. It seemed that Casper's serenity and disregard toward Kitty had hurt her pride. Things had already progressed to this extent, but Kitty is still being so ignorant. At that moment, all Casper could think about was how stupid Kitty was. He felt ever so embarrassed about having feelings for her in the past. "Let's go. Let's see if the guy had really bought Tycoon," suggested Charlie. He waved his hands, and his message was clear. He wanted to embarrass Casper in front of everyone else. "Let's go. Tycoon is ours tonight," said Casper. He waved at his friends as well. After that, Casper forged ahead with his head held high. Felix and the others hesitated for a moment before they bit down and followed along. It was a short distance from the car park to the restaurant, but mockery and insults were abundant in the air. They soon reached Tycoon's entrance. Before Charlie and the others could figure out what was going on, they saw Tycoon's manager rushing out of there while sweating nervously. The manager looked anxious. His clear eyes were scanning the place endlessly, and it was obvious that he was looking for a VIP. Everyone instinctively thought that the manager was there to greet Charlie. That was understandable since Charlie had just claimed that he would block book the entire place. Anyone who could afford that would surely be the restaurant's VIP. Even Charlie assumed that he was the most prestigious guest of the day because he was the richest among his friends. Charlie straightened his collar. Everyone watched in admiration as he readied himself to receive a warm welcome from Tycoon's manager. However, the manager's gaze locked in on Casper, who was in a simple outfit. "Mr. Simpson, thank you for visiting. I'm so sorry for not being here to greet you sooner." The manager was grinning brightly and humbly as he approached Casper. For a moment, the manager looked like a peasant who was there to greet his king. A few minutes ago, the manager received the news that over half of the company's shares had been transferred to Casper. That meant that Casper had since turned into Tycoon's owner. 1 second passed. Then another second. It was pin-drop silence for 30 seconds. The humming of the air conditioner was the only audible sound at the moment. When everyone finally came back around, Felix and the others swiftly changed from their nervous stance. All three boys couldn't resist laughing aloud. Charlie and the others, however, felt like their world had just turned upside down. Their expression turned sour instantly. They were especially embarrassed when they thought about how they mercilessly insulted Casper as a penniless sap and a fraud. They felt like the harsh reality had just slapped them a few hundred times. The one who looked the worst was none other than Kitty. It didn't take a genius to know that after that night, Kitty would be mocked and regarded as the dumbest person in the business university. Kitty turned drowsy at the mere thought of how she would be the talk of the school whenever she set foot in there. Everyone is going to laugh at me, thought Kitty. She felt like her life had just succumbed to eternal darkness. Sorry, but Tycoon will only be serving me and my pals tonight. So you lot should go somewhere else, said Casper. Casper spoke like it was nothing. That proved how little he cared about how terrible Charlie looked. As it turns out, those words were the last straws that broke the camel's back. Charlie's face reddened with high blood pressure, and his anger actually got him to vomit blood. Sometime later inside the best room in Tycoon, Felix and the others were drunk and groggy. They had their bottles up as their smiles shone brightly. Ha ha, you really are something else. Casper, did you see how horrible those *les? Charlie and Kitty looked. Man, that was amazing. The next morning, Casper woke up with the worst hangover. He massaged his head as he rested on the bed. He was stunned the very next second, though. He saw that he had a pink blanket on. And to make matters worse, the pink blanket exuded a faint perfume. Thanks for listening to the Brava Novel audiobook. Welcome to download the Brava Novel app. Read the novel The Wealthy and the Rich online and get the latest updates.